Announcing that the chip shortage is now hitting two of its most productive and profitable plants. First off, in Kansas City, where it builds the transit, the company is going to be stopping.
The pandemic has made so many things possible that weren't possible before. Imagine telling your partner that the vacation you planned had to be canceled because there are no flights. In an ordinary world, it would have been a lame reason. But in the world frightened of the pandemic, all of this was possible and more. The latest thing that we have to deal with due to the pandemic is the global chip shortage. Do you know about it? If not, then don't worry, as we have all you need to know about the global chip shortage. Why are global chips so important? So to understand why the lack of global chips is causing such an uproar all over the world, you need to first understand the importance of global chips. Global chips are tiny chips that go with literally everything. You don't believe us? Okay, well, let's see. Let's backtrack to 1947. You might ask, what's so special about 1947? Well, it was the year when transistors were first made by John Bardeen. According to Wikipedia, from 1947 until now, almost 13,000 billion of these tiny electronic devices have been made, and these transistors were then followed by the integrated chips that are at the core of the chips that are in shortage these days. These computer chips are used in smartwatches, computers, game consoles, smartphones, smart toys, and smart televisions, and last but not least, cars. Now you see why they're so important. All the modern cars that we use today depend a lot upon the importance of these computer chips. And don't just mistake the electric or hybrid cars as being dependent on the computer chips. The same is the case with petrol-run cars. So in a nutshell, the lack of these computer chips can be an alarm of worry for the car manufacturing industry, but more on this later on. The role of COVID-19 in the chip shortage. The next question that might occur in your mind would be, well, what does this shortage have to do with the pandemic? In one word, everything. But let us explain it step by step so you can understand it better. Towards the end of 2019, China was the first country in the world that was hit with COVID-19. The damage was so severe that many factories where manufacturing of different items was done were closed. The closure of these factories resulted in a dropped demand for chips. All of this was so unprecedented that there was no script to follow. Autopilot mode was off and everything was happening for the first time. Remember the closing off of the airspace almost all over the world? Well, that too was unprecedented. Some of these manufacturers started to hoard components while others decided to pull back on their orders. What followed was a worldwide phenomenon of work from home, and that is where the first twist lies. The unexpected demand for laptop, webcams, keyboards, monitors, and other accessories went through the roof. All of this resulted in the creation of a huge gap between demand and supply. Basically, there are two kinds of companies that work on integrated chips. One kind of company designs these chips, and these are known as fables, while the other kind manufactures them and is known as foundries. Intel, for instance, does both of these operations. A wrongful assessment of the impact of the pandemic on the smartphone industry was also a masterful stroke that went wide off the mark. Forecasters were right about the drop in demand in early COVID-19 days, and then the sales recovered in the third and fourth quarter of 2020. As if all of this wasn't enough, Apple also decided to release its 5G iPhones. That would have been a welcoming and good noise in a normal world, but with the global chip shortage getting darker and darker, this was not a welcoming sight. Apple also said that their supply of iPhone 12s was affected due to the shortage of these computing chips. The United States' dependency on other countries. Among one of the executive orders that Joe Biden signed in February 2021 was to address the global chip shortage and review it to strengthen the supply chain management of chips. What this executive order did was to put the decline in manufacturing of semiconductors in the United States in a limelight. In the 1990s, the United States had a 37% share in global semiconductor fabrication. Do you know what the share as of today is? It's declined to a massive decrease of 12%. So how does this declining capacity impact the United States? Well, the United States semiconductor manufacturing companies have a 47% share of the global chip sales market. whereas in terms of manufacturing, they only manufacture 12% of them. Faster and smarter integrated chips are a result of design innovation, and that innovation is dependent upon the fabrication technologies available. This advancement is majorly based on the numbers of transistors, the smallest component of the chip, per square millimeter. The most advanced fabrication technologies, the fabs, are labeled as 5 nanometers or 3 millionths of a millimeter. Samsung in North Korea is manufacturing 3 nanometer fabs, while the United States doesn't even have 7 nanometer fabs. The 7 nanometer fabs that Intel will produce would not be available before late 2022 or early 2023. What does this signify for the United States? To put it simply, the world's leading power is without the means to make the most advanced chips. Governments in Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, China, and Japan invest billions of dollars in the semiconductor industry, and the results are for everyone to see. They're that visible. The investment isn't limited to the facilities that are made for the design and development of these chips. It also focuses on research and development along with the tools necessary to design the next generation of fabs. The lack of investment in the United States on semiconductors is visible with the current shortage that the country is facing. Additionally, it's also visible with the lack of advancement in the development of these fabs. Do you think it's time to take action? Or will the United States continue in the same manner with no improvement in this sector? The loss for the automobile industry. Although it was predicted at the start of 2020 that there would be a global shortage in chips, it was not taken too seriously. Although that's not true for all companies. When you and your friends were busy stockpiling toilet paper in your houses, a few smart companies were out there doing the same, but with computer chips. Now that the demand for chips has skyrocketed and there's not enough supply, the impact has to be obvious. For instance, General Motors announced that due to the chip shortage, their 2021 earnings could be cut by up to $2 billion. That, my friends, is not a small amount. What happened with the automobile industry is that due to the low demand for vehicles in February and March, the manufacturers decided to cut down on orders of integrated chips. The chips for the automobile industry are built to order. Many companies do that to reduce wastage, and it's not in their priority to hold on to these chips. So, when the orders were reduced or canceled from the automobile industry, the chip manufacturers moved forward with orders from other companies. Just as a reminder, the demand for computers, laptops, gaming consoles, speakers, and related accessories skyrocketed, so there was no shortage of the buyers of these integrated chips. The general wait time for the chips once the order has been placed is 12 weeks. Once you cancel an order, you can't resume the same position. This meant that the automobile industry had to go towards the back end of the waiting line. All of this has obviously played a major role in affecting the supply of vehicles. As if all of it wasn't causing enough of a frenzy, the manufacturers of the chips decided to move on for in-demand products. Remember, the gaming consoles, the laptops, and computers. These were the in-demand products. Environmental issues also affected the chip-making industry. To add more spice to these matters, enter the earthquake in Japan and the winter storm in Texas. It also played a major role in affecting the already tightened production and supply of these integrated chips. Ford is also among the companies that'll be impacted by this shortage in the global supply of chips. The most money-making vehicle, the F-150, also had its production slowed down due to the unavailability of the chips. All in all, you might see 672,000 fewer vehicles produced in the first quarter of 2021. The only company that's announced itself free of the global chip shortage is Toyota. As per their statement, they've stockpiled integrated chips that will last the 4 most impacted months. So, if you were going to buy a Toyota, chances are that all the vehicles will still be available without any shortage. So folks, that's all for now. What do you think about the global chip shortage? Which other country apart from America is hit the most in your opinion? What can be done to rectify the situation? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button if you like this video. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can be notified of the next video in time.